Well, audience. It's the intro hour. The first thing that needs to be noted is that I attempt to move my microphone as little as possible. Once you got it in the perfect spot, you don't really want to do anything with it. Unfortunately, today I stumbled and moved my microphone arm not laterally, but up and down, and also jolted the microphone out of its Z axial alignment. So that perfect area I had it where it didn't quite pick up any of the breathiness and breathing noises is probably completely knocked out of place. I don't know what it sounds like now. I'm going to have to listen back to this VOD. Just know that's where we're starting with today is pain. After a month, closer to 40 to 50 days away from streaming, I've come to the conclusion that with everyone calling me by my full legal name, or mostly just Mr. Arthur, maybe it's time to leave the AP moniker behind. It's a nickname, but, maybe it's time to just go by Arthur. Now, part of this comes because Lord Hunger really pissed me off the other day. He was mocking people whose parents named them after themselves. And I am named after my father, and he is named after his father. And potentially the first son that I have will be named after me. So he's interjected himself into 4 generations of Perkins men, which is that's a mistake, Mike, is all I have to say. That's a mistake. He's also wrong that that's not a tradition followed around the world or specifically in Europe, since I'm over here looking at Louis XIV, aka the Sun God, the Sun King, looking at his child, Louis XV, and his child, Louis XVI, if I'm correct here. Now, yes, if you are part of England or the Commonwealth cultures, sure, they go on a bit of a rotation. You got your Henrys, your Jameses, your Richards, and then on the female side, they rotate through Victoria, Elizabeth, Mary a couple times. That's fine if you want to call, your son after your great uncle, right? But traditionally around the world, it's actually exceeding. It's England that does it wrong, actually, Mike. So go fuck yourself. I'm still mad about it. You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And also, maybe it's time to just go by Arthur. That's where we're coming from today. That's the energy I'm bringing to this episode. Lawson, welcome to the intro hour. Do you have anything to add here before I start going on some pre-programmed rants?
I am not named after my father. I am named after my grandfather, and I got my middle name from an uncle. So
Okay.
there's my addition to the topic at hand.
Well, I'm a third, so, that's life. And also, Art was my father. That's not a name for me. Don't call me Art, all right? And don't call me Skip either. I still don't know why they called my dad Skip. It's definitely some in-joke he had with his siblings that must be really dirty because they never shared it with me. But, yeah. Shit's crazy, man. Shit's crazy. Let's see what we got here. I wanted to do a Uma Musume dance review today, but I was actually not really in the mood to play Uma Musume this week, so I'm gonna get destroyed at the upcoming champions meeting. I might be in the shadow, the tail end of my Uma Musume. It's fine to log in and every once in a while complete a story thing, but given how badly I'm getting my ass kicked at the strategic part of the game, which is versus other players, I don't have the sweat to keep up with them. I don't have the skill or the roles or the money. So, I don't know. Yeah, it's a great game. I had a lot of fun playing it. I played it for quite a while, but I don't know that I'm going to continue playing it or anywhere near the level of pace that I have previously. I'll tell you what I have been wanting to play more of is factory games, not Factorio specifically, because We already beat Factorio. We also beat Satisfactory. I've looked at a couple other Factory games, but they're like all in early access and like not finished. I want to believe in Star Rupture, but it's not time for it yet. Like Star Rupture just really is completely unfinished. I tried getting back into Dyson Sphere Project, but ironically, they upped the combat. The combat has been tweaked to become such a significant part of the game that it's just not fun anymore. I just wanted to make a factory, not every 20 minutes have to go close a hole in a planet somewhere because devil drills from beyond the edge of space are trying to void sap my X, Y's, and Z's. Those are kind of the only... I tried Shapes. Technically, I tried Shapes too. That is a very interesting game. But it's not fun. It's interesting. It's just not fun. You know what I mean, Lawson?
I understand.
I said, you know what I mean, Lawson? Oh, he did answer. I might have had a second of lag there. Crazy. Yeah. Let's see. What else do I have here on this list? Insult Lord Hunger. Oh, so James didn't want me to dox when his birthday was, but his birthday has passed. It is up to you individually to determine if you can figure out when James's birthday has been. With that said, his birthday gift is set to deliver part of the way through this episode, specifically so I thought he might be here, so I would be foreshadowing it now, but it's going to deliver in a couple minutes. Anyway, congratulations to James. He's made it around, the sort of orbit of the sun one more time. I guess, are we truly orbiting the sun, though, is a real question, since we're really just we are orbiting it, but also we're mostly following it, right? It's so weird to think about. It really does shape games like Terra Invicta very strangely. You have something to say, Lawson?
No.
Yeah. You were just lighting up and your model was bouncing. Very well. Wanted to talk about media literacy. During my long travels and travails last month, I was reading the physical novelization of the Starcraft novels, specifically the second novel by Gabriel Mesa of the Starcraft novels. Now, the first one was very interesting. Starcraft novel 1 is about a guy named Michael Liberty, and it basically follows all the events of StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War from a background perspective of a guy who was there. So it repeats a lot of events you've basically already seen and doesn't really add that much. I honestly don't really know why they made it. It was strange. But the second novel is quite different. Anyway, the novel isn't the important part. The important part is that someone saw me reading it and came over and talked to me about StarCraft, which, I don't normally talk to random people who come over and talk to me, but I do like StarCraft. And I got into a discussion about how I thought StarCraft 2, the story was hampered by the fact that literally one of the last things Jim Raynor says in StarCraft Brood War is, I'll never forgive you, Kerrigan. I'll chase you to the ends of the earth and I'll fucking kill you. And then in StarCraft 2, one of the first things he says is, I love you so much, Kerrigan. I can't kill you. I gotta save you. But this person pointed out that it could be I simply lack media literacy. At first, I didn't take well to having my media literacy called out. However, upon further examination of their argument, they could be right. They could be right. When Raynor is talking about Kerrigan at the end of Brood War, he says Kerrigan almost always, but what he means is the Queen of Blades. The thing that he wants is his red-haired waifu ghost lady back. Kerrigan, not the Queen of Blades. And from that perspective, the ending of StarCraft 2 makes a lot more sense after it's been like 10 years. I feel like I can spoil this. That would be fine. I mean, if you haven't played StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void all the way through by now, you probably aren't going to. So Kerrigan becomes basically a god angel of the what are they called? Xel'Naga? She becomes a Xel'Naga, which she doesn't look anything like a Xel'Naga, but they're like, she's a Xel'Naga now, and I'm like, all right, I don't believe that or whatever, I guess. And then he's drinking alone in a bar sometime later after she goes to die, and Kerrigan just walks in and walks off with her, and I'm like, all right, okay, I can believe that, I guess. Now, from this new perspective, maybe the story didn't suck because Jim betrayed all his values. Maybe I simply wasn't looking at it from the perspective that he hated the Queen of Blades and not Kerrigan. Still, he spends an awfully lot amount of time in the first game, Wings of Liberty, simping for the Queen of Blades and attempting to kidnap and mind wash her, is all I have to say about that. So maybe I was partially media illiterate, but that's fine. This guy could have had a point, is all I'm saying. I have a lot to say about Blizzard products. I really do think they were better back in the day. Hate to be a nostalgia hound. I think Diablo 1 was good, but I solidly believe Diablo 2 was better, and specifically the expansion pack cinematic at the beginning where Bale shows up and just fucking screams at a barbarian diplomat and it just fucking, I don't know, explodes. That was pretty sick, man. StarCraft and Brood War were a completely different level of storytelling that I don't think StarCraft 2 had. And here's my bigger issue. A lot of the early StarCraft missions were setting up like each color of Zerg represents a different Cerebrit, which makes sense because when you face them in AI mode, they have that name. You know, they'll be like Garmbrood or whatever. But there weren't any sub-factional differences between them. And I feel like StarCraft 2 got Command and Conquerized, where they were like there's dozens of sub-factions for each race, and they each have a special ruler, Heroes of the Storm style. And, you know, like, you can get special units with this mix and match your favorite I was like, this is too fucking complicated, man. Like, just pick a roster, is all I'm saying. Like, just because it's more complicated doesn't mean that it's better. It doesn't mean it's more fun. I don't care if like Reaper should just be on the menu, is all I'm saying. They should just be there. Some of you may know that I'm a handshake hater. I don't just hate regular handshakes. I hate the double handshake. But where does that come from? It all begins with a television show called 24. 24 is an amazing piece of media that absolutely changed the format of how we look at making TV shows. It follows a formula. There's always a mole. There's always a grand person who's behind the events of the entire season that won't be revealed until like the last third. Events will conspire. They do a really good job. This is probably the first time as a young man, that I was actively understanding that I was watching A plot into B plot into C plot, B plot replacing A plot in importance as like events go through the day. Jack Bauer and the CTU team solve whatever the morning crisis is that calls him to be called in. And then the B plot goes down. And they always do, I don't want to say contrive, but there's always this thing where like somewhere in the middle of the season, Jack has to like fly across the country from Washington, D.C. In the early seasons, I think it was the president flying from DC to Los Angeles, and sometimes it's Jack flying from Los Angeles to DC. And that's, that's a 3 to 4 hour flight, depending on the direction and type of aircraft you're working with. Even if you ignore Dulles to LAX air traffic landing, right? Assumably, they're using Air Force One most of the time, or some sort of military aircraft that would have like priority clearance. But anyway, the point is they always have like this downtime built in where Jack does, like in the middle of the day when Jack has been up for a while and he needs a moment to sleep, they just have this downtime area for him to just catch some rest and for another plot to be evolving that Jack he can chime in about, but it's really about the rest of the CTU team and the rest of the world to like have this happen. So anyway, there's this guy named Charles Logan. He is actually the fucking devil of 24. When you first meet him, he's kind of like a bumbling moronic fool. And then by the end of I think it's the end of the season that he's introduced in, it becomes clear that he's actually behind everything. And this guy is your classic right hand handshake and then left hand clasp over it. And that was how I started to learn to like understand that was bad. That was usually a good sign that someone's a villain. And the thing is, Charles Logan keeps showing up. He is in a prescient move for Fox at the time. They understood that just because a president commits crimes doesn't mean he'll stay in jail or even go to jail for them. Charles Logan commits treason repeatedly and just ends up being hyper relevant throughout the years and continues to show up. And every single time they're like, maybe we should let him out of jail to do this one thing. It turns out he manipulated the entire event into happening. I'm like, all right, there's no way this could ever happen in real life. Anyway, so Charles Logan is my original introduction into the double handshake. But where did he get it from? Now, this is a classic piece of pre-boomer media. We have to go back to the 1950s and 60s. There's a young politician by the name of John F. Kennedy. Kennedy was really big on connections with people. Now, I think he's genuinely a guy, I guess. There's plenty to say about his private life for sure, but he also commissioned a presidential study that was following up on his own like collegiate, I think it was Harvard experiences with human connection about the most optimal handshake. And so young boomers at the time, young college age boomers and teen and preteen boomers were all seeing this young, like physically active, extremely popular president who had an extremely specific way of shaking hands. Famously, shaking hands with a young Bill Clinton, encouraging him to, go into like law and go into politics. That handshake that he does, the overhand handshake, is one that, it's literally the optimum handshake of the 1960s from an American point of view. It quickly builds a sort of camaraderie and confidence between people. However, there is a subset of the population that feels like forced intimacy, the like overhand or a sense of supremacy or domination against you. But for a lot of people, it builds a connection, especially on the outgoing shake. You don't do it when you first meet somebody. If you're sitting down to meet someone for a business meeting, for instance, you do the double handshake when you leave. These studies are freaking crazy, dude. So anyway, you might notice Bill Clinton also does that handshake. And in fact, you'll find President Obama doing a variation of the handshake. Now, Obama doesn't always do the double handshake. In fact, his more common move that you're going to see him do is the forearm grasp. He goes for the left hand on your shoulder while doing the handshake. This is a sort of Gen X evolution of that for the new generations, the sort of handshake grip that you see. The thing that bothers me is that a lot of people who do this aren't doing it because they're evil and manipulative, but there is a subset of people that are just trying to falsely build a sense of camaraderie or intimacy or companionship between two people, specifically to make you easier to manipulate. It's like, I want to say her name is Elizabeth Theranos, and how she was like, I speak with a lower tone so that men will take me seriously and women will find me as a source of authority. I'm like, holy shit, you sound like an idiot when you speak. Just speak like normal. Of course, she's a horribly manipulative scam artist who, defrauded people for multiple billions of dollars, just lying about blood draws or whatever. God, I can't remember what Theranos was doing. It was some dumb shit though. But I mean, these are common signs of manipulative behavior is all I'm saying. Keep an eye out for it. The double handshake isn't always a sign of evil, but it's usually a pretty good indicator. And the thing is, it's so uncommon now, it's very boomerish, that it is usually a good sign in media that someone is a villain. Hollywood has picked up that we don't trust people that do it on screen, and it's falling off in person. But now people do shit like dap or whatever, or I mean, the 3-tap has been part of culture for over 40 years. So God, can you imagine a time where doing, like whoever comes after the betas, the gammas are like, doing a dap, that's a sign of manipulation, bro. Back in the early 2010s, Kendrick Lamar was dapping on fools. Ever since then, people have used... I'm going to cut to Lawson for some commentary before I continue yakking some shit up.
I have nothing to add to this.
No follow-up.
Strange
Perfect.
obsession.
At strange obsession with observing manipulative human behavior so I can avoid being a subject of it? That, you think that's an obsession? Human observation? Protect your damn neck? Diversify your bonds. Unbelievable, Lawson. Unbelievable. So, here I am. I've been assembling a video for years. Maybe it's more of an article at this point about what you could take into an isekai if you get teleported into the past. Knowledge that you already know or could easily pick up, that you don't know that would help you survive. I've talked about this a couple times, mostly in terms of spherical trigonometry and calculus. There are plenty of points throughout human history where the calculation of routes around the world and the ability to navigate and map better would make drastic differences and assure you of a easier life. But I will now talk about 3 machines that I believe a regular person can look up on the internet. See, I was gonna get, like slides for this, but then I fell into my microphone after they said it. So this is kind of a partial thing. I'll do my best to describe out loud what they're like, but you can always Google these things. And in the final video, if it ever gets done, I will include slides for all of this stuff. But for instance, I'm going to be talking about machines today. The thing that really has been slowing me down lately is gears. Like, I don't know that I can dumb down... I can't remember what it's called. Is it called a sun and moon gear? Or maybe it's called a planetary or a universal gear? Like, there are plenty of gear sets that allow you to change planes of motion that are probably easy to understand. But ways of changing motion within the same plane can be a bit more difficult. Also, gears that allow for contra-rotation, so that you can transfer power to two objects moving in opposite directions stacked on top of one another, which can be important for various situations. I mean, I always go back to the propeller, right? The concept of the propeller would absolutely change, again, water transit, but also power. Using a propeller in a river is going to transfer it's going to be more efficient, I should say. And theoretically, given that all of the blades should be submerged, it will transfer a much greater amount of power than, say, a paddle wheel, where you're only getting, like the bottom 10% energy transfer on that bad boy. You could really get a lot more power out of a mill or a sawmill or something like that. But also imagine a galley, something, a ship in the Mediterranean, a lanterne rigged ship designed to work in situations of low wind that relies on human muscle. Instead of transferring it via oars, which requires some very precise mechanical coordination between two sides, imagine that they're just treadmilling it, and transferring it directly to a propeller on the back of the ship. You're gonna get way. I mean, how long is the oar in the water versus how long it's above water, right? You're losing plenty of efficiency using an oar. A sort of gear based. I mean, you'd need multiple. Anyway, and as another aside, before I go talk about the three machines of water, when I was a kid, I was taught that there were the four simple machines. And it wasn't until I got into engineering college that I learned that it was six simple machines. And it's not like that's ever changed. In the Renaissance, they were identified as the six simple machines. And before the Renaissance, there were more than four at various points, but even the Greeks had identified at least four minimum, and then there were various attempts to add others. Like, for instance, a propeller is just a screw and an inclined plane combined, right? So a combination of simple machines. I'm really on this propeller thing right now. The meter lock of Da Vinci. This is a simple device for you to understand how canal locks work, and yet it was not designed until quite late in canal sciences. This is a forward proud canal lock. So it is a canal lock that, rather than being pointed away or in the direction of the water, it is pointed towards or in contradiction of the current of the water, which is wild. A lot of gates that you're going to see in medieval times and before that, they're simply flat gates that you're lifting straight up and down, right? But the meter lock points towards the water, which is very interesting and allows you to do some really cool shit. I'm not sure if the average person is going to know what a sluice gate is, but it's probably pretty easy to imagine two 45-degree walls that are hinged along the side of a canal pointing towards the water, fitted together such that as the water pressure increases and the water pushes against the two walls, it actually forces them together, creating a pressure seal, preventing water from leaking through, which is that's solid engineering right there. Absolutely crazy. From there are a couple of extra additions. You need a balance beam. This is important because if you have the balance beam balanced correctly, it is exceedingly easy to open the lock once the water levels have been equalized, I suppose, once both sides of the canal have been pressurized. And then you put sluice gates on the bottom, which are little windows you can open up that let the higher level of pressure go to the lower level of pressure and will equalize both sides. Once both sides are equalized, the gate should move very easily, assuming the balance beam is balanced correctly. And then it's just one person on each side can open and close the gate very, very simply, rather than requiring a huge team of people to lift a gate lock. Closing it is a bit more difficult because you have to push against the pressure initially. But once you get past a certain angular degree, once you get past the first few degrees of motion, the force of the river itself will grab the gate and simply force it closed, as mentioned before, because if they're properly fitted, the two sides of the gate should meet at an angle where a pressure seal forms. The meter lock of Da Vinci. This is pretty simple engineering that you can make in your, in a garage without power tools. And, it just takes a little bit of time. And yet it will advance water sciences by literal centuries. The Roman water gradation. Yes, you've been isekai'd back in time, or maybe you've been sent to another world. How do you keep that water fresh, flowing from the mountain springs down to your city? Well, the answer is Roman water gradation. Now, this one stumped me for a while. It's well known that you want water moving between 6 to 12 miles an hour. If you get much slower than that, the water will start to carry too much sediment, and the sediment will start to settle and fuck up your aqueduct or canal system, and then it'll start to mess itself up. Problems will grow. It's like not plaqued arteries. You're gonna have problems. How do you calculate the water's speed with no tools, given that the premise of isekaiing or moving to the past, you don't have any modern tools? Well, technically, if you have a 6-centimeter drop over every 100 meters, I think, will get you the correct speeds. But again, you're probably not going to have a centimeter measure. But then I learned, and this one's very important, that a angular dip of between 0.1 and 0.2% grade achieves the speed of 6 miles per hour of water. I mean, it gets closer to 10 to 12 at 0.2. But angularizing a circle requires almost no tools and nothing you couldn't make on your own in the course of a few minutes with a piece of wood and some sort of charcoal stick or a pen or a pencil of some kind. Now, consistently remaining a level of that will take plenty of civic engineering construction knowledge, but as long as you maintain a planar level of between 0.1 and 0.2% grade, you're going to be moving the water along. Now, if you're very serious about aqueduct engineering and canal engineering, you are going to need to know about things like sediment tanks, and then you need cisterns at the end. But really, for your own educational purposes, looking into the Roman water supply is actually such a cool thing. The third machine actually isn't a machine at all, but I did recently describe it on King Arthur Pendragon. It's called a pulse pump. It is a no energy, non-machine method of lifting water above the height of the original water source, which is crazy. The only place I know of that it existed in history is at a single abbey somewhere in Spain, and the guy whose records of it, he didn't understand how it worked, so he took detailed records of it. He couldn't figure out how it worked. He assumed it was a miracle of God. He was a cleric, so no surprise. And of course, because he didn't understand how it worked, his records were incomplete. But it's very interesting. This one is probably the hardest to describe. Imagine water flowing into a shallow bowl-like funnel. It's very important that the water enters into the bowl with plenty of turbulence and that the bottom of the bowl funnel be a pipe that leads down. Now, this is where the energy for the pulse pump comes from, not mechanical motion from any workings of a machine, but in capturing water through the foam of the pipe. It goes down into a level pipe at the bottom, and as the water pressure forces the level pipe's water forward, you have a sort of spill offage at the end of it. And this is where the majority of water, like 95% plus, will be moving through here. A pulse pump is a exceedingly inefficient way of lifting water, but because it doesn't take any energy on your or any mechanical part and has very little wear, it will last for an exceedingly long time, and it will basically always work. So we know that we have a higher water source than the output source. So we have water pressure forcing the water through this shallow bowl funnel down into a pipe. That pipe is then hitting a horizontal pipe, just transiting towards its exit funnel. In between those 2 points, you include a offshoot that has 2 angular inserts that allow water and air to go upward. So all the air that you've trapped in the water in forms of bubbles and foam is going to, rather than transit to the out point, it's all going to be siphoned off and be forced up this exhaust pipe. So you have an angular surface slightly above the surface of the water pipe. Pressure is going to cause some of the water to rise into that pipe, but the majority of power lifting water up this pipe will come from literal water pressure being forced up by literal air pressure. They're basically going to ride bubbles to the top. And so you're going to get an extremely inefficient but extremely consistent transit of water to a higher location than the original. How high you can go is a matter of some scholarly debate. There are 3D printable pulse pumps available, and you can just straight up buy them nowadays. And they're, the materials they're made out of are hyper efficient compared to stone because they have such low coefficients of friction and such. But I mean, imagine not even having to pump a well. You just have a water basin that water comes up to all day and all night long. That's the real passive income. Cool, fresh water from a nearby spring. You don't have to divert a whole river to your area. You can get that underground river or what's the underground water source called? Aquifer. You can get the aquifer into your front yard using the power of the pulse pump. Lawson, any thoughts?
Nothing to add.
I saw a YouTube video thumbnail today that says, just because you have interest doesn't make you interesting. And I feel like your silence on these last few topics has really made that clear to me.
You're good.
This is all I had prepared to
Sitting
talk
here
about.
listening while doing other stuff.
Okay. Well, I guess I should be playing a ton of Menace, but I actually haven't been. I did call out Spoon for playing Menace instead of playing King Arthur Pendragon, and I knew that he wasn't online or anything. I had no reason to suspect other than just knowing him that he was playing Menace, but I messaged him and he was like, sorry, I'm playing Menace, I'm finishing it up. And I was like, gotcha, motherfucker. Instead, I started a Terra Invicta run, which was such a mistake, and now I'm fully committed to it. But this run is going pretty well for me. It's for a game I have 843 hours in. I hate to say it, but I have learned from my past mistakes. It wasn't exactly a Jupiter Rush run, which is the current key strat, but I had a lot of bad luck, but I finally have managed to get myself into a pretty good mid-game situation where I'm not base trading anymore. I feel like I'm starting to get on the get into the solid middle to late game without issue. I'm gonna have a good time. It is the AI in Terra Invicta has gotten a lot better. There are plenty of runs, including 2 different recorded runs I've done, where the AI just basically is non-functional. Once you've hit a certain point, once you've hit the early mid game, you've already dominated the other rival factions so much that they're completely out of the game. At this point, some of the rival factions are more active fighting the aliens than me. Now, I am trying to stay undercover and not piss the aliens off too much. I didn't think it would be this strong of a strategy because I thought they were still going to attack anyway. They're actually so busy attacking some of the other human factions. The human factions have I beelined through the main story, and then I stopped at the part where if you go past it, no one will ally with you anymore because it's humanity first. You basically say fuck all of you. So I stopped there. Several of the other factions have passed that point and are like in their version of the end game. They don't have the logistical power to actually fight the aliens like full time, but the aliens are so busy dealing with those factions that have basically said fuck everybody, this is our end goal, that I'm I'm kind of just flying under the radar, slowly building through technology at like this is the thing that really made this run very strong, is that I was like, all right, I'm going to go for like full research. I'm going to try to pick this specific fusion drive. I'm not going to do every fusion drive along the way. I'm going to get hybrid fusion 3, and then I'm going to go for inertial fusion 7, which take decades, which roughly will translate to 20 or 30 hours in game of time to straight line towards. And I've seized control of all of Earth's resource facilities. I produce as much as the entire rest of the Earth does because that's the thing I've optimized for. We don't have the most armies. We do have the most nuclear weapons because I decided to take over the United States. So it's very nice having the most nuclear weapons, but we haven't used them. We haven't had any need to. In fact, China has declared more nuclear strikes than America has, with a grand whopping total of 1 strike against, I think, Nigeria. Why is China nuking Nigeria? No idea. They didn't even have a defending army, so I'm not really sure why China felt the need to do it. But, you know, I said the AI was better. I didn't say it was the best. This has been a great Terra Invicta run. I'm having fun. I've been diarying it and cataloging it along the way. I think Spoon is the only one who's been reading it. But I was like having fun just cataloging it and just sitting there being like, that's right, this is the story of my journey in Terra Invicta. We're just doing some crazy ass shit, man. We're gonna change the world. We're gonna save it from the aliens. These bad aliens. Well, Lawson, what can you tell me about Arc Endgame? Enfield? Arc Knights. I haven't played this one, right? It's not the one with the gun girls? What was that one?
That is Girls Frontline.
Girls Frontline was the one that I played. That did not carry me very far. I mean, it was just XCOM with no randomness.
I don't think you played the original Arc Knights.
I definitely have never played Arc Knights.
It was a tower defense gotcha.
Now it's a factory builder gotcha?
It is open world. It is more of a Hoyo style open world with a.
Well, I don't know that I've ever played a Hoyo game.
It's. Yeah.
I mean, is the factory building good, or is it just like gotcha level good? You know what I mean?
It's not Factorio in depth, but it does have a bit of a learning curve to it.
Oh. I mean, I got back into Captain of Industry, and if it's not at least as as good as that, I probably don't care. Maybe I just live in a postcard. I gotta tell you, audience, having gone a whole month without any streamer drama and then coming back and going to live stream fails and they're like, these motherfuckers doing this shit. And I'm like, wow, I haven't watched Twitch all month. I haven't read this specific sub channel of Reddit, and I can't believe how little I care about these people doing dumb shit all the time. I don't know, Lawson. While I was on the cruises, I could. So Lawson was sending me YouTube videos, and I was like, I'll have to watch these later, because you can't watch videos on cruise ship Wi-Fi. And yeah, I was just like, oh, well, I guess I can't watch Twitch, can't watch YouTube, can't watch VTubers or streamers. I live in a world without that stuff, and it was fun, and I don't need to go back to it. I'll tell you, I did download a bunch of Dimension 20 stuff that I caught up on. All of the Dimension 20 live shows and the Dimension 20 Madison Square Garden, Dimension 20 Quango quests. That was great, man. I don't know why I held off on watching all those for so long. Quango quests were good. Some of them were better than others, but wow. Like, Madison Square Garden was insane. Anything with Cody Walsh is always a good plan. I mean, I've recently been doing a bunch of Cody Walshisms, and I don't know that anyone's noticed, but the two sides of the same coin thing that I've been doing lately is something Cody Walsh says in Unsleeping City Season 2, and also every time he shows up on Quangle Quest, he also says it. And then I was like, you know what, Spoon? I guess you and I, we're like two sides of the same coin. Was that, Savannah? You and I are like two sets. It started in Shadowrun, and I did it for everybody but Ludeman, and I'm going to find some opportunity, and that'll be the last time I do it for a while. I got to find some opportunity to pop that on Ludeman, but it's got to be organic, has to happen naturally. Or I have to force it in a way that's really cringe, just like as cringe as possible. Well, Lawson, I do have to say, when it comes to gacha games, we have different preferences, I guess you could say. The real gacha games are the friends we made along the way. Wow.
I just play them.
I don't know. I'm growing apart from them. I know I should get back into FGO now that the final chapter is out or whatever. I've been away from the story for so long, I have no fucking idea what happens anymore. Like, things got rough after COVID and we got Canis blocked. Do you remember Canis came out and then people were like, I got my Canis cosplay outfit, but all the cosplay cons are closed? And I was like, this is the end of days. Why can we not have horse dog waifu, athlete horse dog waifu cosplay? It's such a crazy sentence to say. It's not going to make any sense to Ratosaurus. 99% regular woman. Just, we missed out. And ever since then, I feel like I've been disconnected from FGO. And
now you don't even look at cosplayers.
That's true. YouTube really wants me to watch a video that is about a cosplayer by the name, I'm going to say her name is Sandra Banks, and it's her as an elf, and chat reads comments about her as an AI generated song. It has come up in my feed like 5,000 bajillion times. It's like that one.
I have not seen anything like this, so.
Well, I don't know. I think YouTube is trying to figure out how to lock me in. Now, I, I say this, and a couple months ago, it kept trying to make me watch this video called "You Have to Stop Mourning the One Who Doesn't Love You Back," and I'm like, what? What have I done? What search term? What event in my life? What video have I released that makes YouTube think that this is an appropriate video for me? Now, so I've been shitting on YouTube a lot lately, but yesterday I opened my phone up and I started my car and I was like, all right, I want to put something on for my drive. I don't want to be mucking around with my phone. I want to be touching it while driving. I'm going to put on, you know, music that has a long length time. And then it showed me a YouTube mix that was like Emily mix. And I was like, all right, I'll watch. You know, if it's just like Emily songs, it'll be fine. It was like the best Emily songs and also the best Narissa Ravencraft songs. And it alternated between them every other song. And it was like 15 in a row. And I was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
YouTube finally fucking got it. They finally figured out exactly what I wanted. One time. This is exactly what I wanted to listen to while I'm driving. So I fully expect them to fuck up the algorithm from here and make it worse. For sure. 100%.
I've been getting a bunch of Star Wars extended lore videos recently.
I mean, I am working on a Star Wars show, so I'd love to get in on that cash money. That should be noted that Patreon are getting an exclusive look at my new show, Wells of Ambition, A Worlds Without Number, actual play. We just did the episode -1. It really just turned into an episode 0 of like world building and like character building. And we're making characters in Hero Forge and we're going to export them to Tabletop Simulator. We're going to play and it's going to be a podcast. So it's so funny because we're so excited to make these character models and then you're not going to be able to see them because it's not a visual format show. Wow, incredible. And you know, a lot of what I'm seeing today is about this, you know, Bad Bunny. He's super popular. I've never heard of him until he showed up in Dimension 20 Never Stop Blowing Up. When Brendan Lee Mulligan looked directly at the camera and said, I'm the real Bad Bunny. I'm real Bad Bunny. And I said, I don't know what that means. I didn't understand that that was a music artist that I was supposed to know about. And I gotta say, I am so sick and tired of these foreigners at our Super Bowls. I'm not talking about Bad Bunny, of course. I'm talking about Coldplay. Uh, because they're from the UK. That's right. That was the wind up. And I stole that joke from someone else. That's right, motherfuckers. I do here now. Here's an interesting thing that I thought about while I was on my cruise. When I was a kid, it wasn't until the Chappelle show that I understood that comedians who did stand-up comedy, I always thought as a kid, and I know this is super foolish, but all right, you know, crucify me, I guess. I just thought comedians lived with like super interesting lives. It wasn't until it was explained to me that those are all obvious setups for a joke that are almost certainly fictional or exaggerations of real events or inspired by other jokes in order to set a joke up. And then, you know, with Dave Chappelle, all of his comedy specials are I make 8 different jokes and then my last joke is all of those jokes combined into one joke. It made it kind of obvious that there's absolutely no way that these events were real, right? In order to make that all one joke work. But for the longest time, I just believed that comedians just live special lives and that they were just super interesting people. Come at me, bro. Well, Lawson, we've got about 5 minutes, 29 seconds. What do you want to talk about? What are your topics of interest this week?
Um,
What do you want on
you
your
brought up
taco?
Umus May. I had a very terrible run trying to build a sprint air groove while we were doing this show.
Oh, I don't know. I built
Uh,
2 sprint Bakushins, and then they just start winning in practice matches, even though they appear to have perfect stats.
I really haven't even built for this champions meeting. I'm just gonna throw whatever Bakushin, whatever bourbon I have, and hope for the best.
Interesting. It is very strange to like never have any sprint champions meetings, and now it's like super sprint, the
I think
sprintiest.
is there 1 or 2 sprints
But this
in
is
the
the
segment?
first one.
Yeah. That's because most of Japanese horse racing is medium length. So that's why it's the predominant one.
I prefer long, but that's because I am a fan of my apprentice Oguri Cap.
The new scenario that they're releasing in the Japan servers soon is going to be based on the American Breeders' Cup. So
What is? I mean, I
be
don't know what
interesting to
that
see
means.
what that turns into. Uh, they're basing it on, well, the horse that just won the Breeders' Cup in real life is being added to the game, and it was a Japanese horse that won it. So it's the more modern scenario, from my understanding.
Very
I
well.
don't know if it's actually out yet. I haven't looked at anything yet.
I got like 2 or 3 episodes into Cinderella Grey, and then I was like, I don't know. I'm just not really that into Cinderella Grey. It's so strange because they overhyped the animation during the races. But then I watched the animation of Oguri Cap doing the traditional Japanese dance in an idol outfit at the end, and I was like, this is so cringe. This is fucking amazing how cringe this is. I genuinely am laughing out loud at how bad her dancing is. Do you know how hard it is to animate someone dancing badly? It is amazing. The animation isn't bad. It is amazing animation of someone who is poorly dancing. It's really
It's a
impressive.
funny scene.
Oh my god, it is so funny.
It comes up my YouTube shorts every once in a while.
It's so good. Only my YouTube shorts had it. Instead, they're like, "Do you know these 5 things about D&D? Is Critical Role over?" Now, yeah, that's the one that's in my YouTube shorts today. Is Critical Role
Mine is all
over?
kinds of gotcha slop.
Jacob Wysocki said Critical Role is done for. I watched the video and I'm like, at no point did Jacob Wysocki say that. You have misrepresented his words.
Got to get those clicks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Gosh, so many YouTube videos that have really interesting titles, especially engineering based ones. Then you open it up and it's an obvious AI voice. And I want to scream. I'm just like, can we get a regular person to just fucking read this? You know?
No.
I don't know. I guess
One
people
day you'll
just have
hear
to
your own
figure it out.
voice.
You know, I did a couple of videos, mostly the Crusader Kings, the start of my Crusader Kings 3 stuff that had like an AI voiceover, but you'll notice that I don't do that anymore. I just,
Now, one day you'll hear your voice as an AI voiceover.
okay. Horrifying, honestly. Hopefully something I can sue for. Austin, why are you trying to put that hex on me, man? Someday
Oh,
you'll hear your voice, and it'll be an AI voiceover. I already
I
don't
mean,
like listening to
you
my
have a lot
voice
of YouTube
in
videos.
general. Oh, fuck. You actually make a really good point. I do. But people don't listen to me specifically because of my voice. I'm not the, what did you call it? I'm not the BFE, right? I'm not,
What?
boyfriend experience streamers, you know, people that
Oh,
actually like listening to dudes who talk. Who is that shitty dude who tried to do Doki on the black screen stream?
Ox?
Yes. Is that his name? Ox?
Vox.
Fox, yes.
VAX.
Yeah. That's somebody people listen to for the voice. See? People
He's got, like,
watch
one of
me
the
for my
famous voice
personality.
actors.
That's why he has thousands of viewers and I don't. Oh shit, we went 15 seconds over. I'm not going to edit the video down. Maybe season 2 of the intro hour isn't so strict with numbers. But I have to be true to myself though, right? I do
It's the
like
intro session.
no. Oof. God, I hate that. All right, I'm stopping now. I mean, technically, as long as we don't hit 1 minute, it's still an hour.